against Bitcoin.
It's going up forever, Laura.
You're against Bitcoin, you're against freedom.
Welcome to another episode of Simply Bitcoin Live, our number one source for the peaceful Bitcoin revolution, card-breaking news, culture, matic warfare. We will be your guide through the separation of money and state. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the most watched daily Bitcoin news show on YouTube, Rumble, and X. Welcome to Simply Bitcoin. Sit back, relax, enjoy the ride. This is the second day from live streaming from the beautiful country, the shining country on the hill. Of course, I'm talking about freedom country. Of course, I'm talking about El Salvador. In the background, I literally have an actual volcano. So we're going to be streaming. Simply Bitcoin's going to be streaming here from El Salvador for the rest of the week. This is my second day in San Salvador. I had a Mi Primer Bitcoin event yesterday. I was with BTC Sessions, with Max Kaiser, Stacy Herbert, Lena Seish, who else? Tip NZ. She did the rap. It was incredible. It was an auction to just celebrate, you know, the Bitcoin adoption here. Mi Primer Bitcoin is doing some incredible things. They're teaching the next generation how to use Bitcoin. I think that's just so incredibly important. So it was a privilege to be part of that auction, part of that event. It was incredible. I'm absolutely loving El Salvador. The energy here is it's something very special. If you're a Bitcoiner, I highly recommend making this pilgrimage to this country. I know I've met a lot of Bitcoiners, one of which is a guest today, that have actually even moved here. I see the hope. I see the energy in people. I'm Hispanic. I'm bilingual. So every single opportunity I've had, I've literally tried to speak to a local, wanted to get their thoughts on Bukele, wanted to get their thoughts on, the future of their country. And I see it. And that's not something that you see around Latin America. You don't see that. Most people want to leave. They want to go to the United States. In El Salvador, I'm seeing something very different. This is a very, very special place. If you're a Bitcoiner, highly recommend coming to El Salvador at least once, and you'll see what I mean. Anyways, today we're going to talk about Bitcoin being binary in a way. And this is something that I've said many times, that Bitcoin either goes to zero or it keeps going up forever, right? A lot of that has to do with the halving. A lot of that has to do with the mining incentives, and of course, a lot of that has to do with infinity divided by 21 million. Like, if governments had the discipline, like, not to print money, like, maybe we could have a conversation about it. But it's like they can't help themselves but to do it. They have to do it. The U.S. is on an unsustainable fiscal path. So yeah, I mean, one thing is for sure is that they have to keep printing money. If they stop printing money, the US government isn't going to be able to afford things. And the way that you protect yourself, obviously, is get yourself Bitcoin. And that basically guarantees that this thing goes to 1 million. It's inevitable. And the binary aspect of it is very interesting, because that means that it can't just stay at the same level. Like, it either goes up forever, Laura, or it goes down to zero. And that inspired me to come up with some original thought this morning, where I said, I would rather ride Bitcoin to zero than go back to slavery. What side are you on, Anon? That's a question for you guys. What side are you on? Would you go back to the fiat system? Would you go back to working and earning in a money that another man can create for free, another man can censor based on your political beliefs? Are you up for that? That's the question that I have for you guys. I have another clip for you guys as well of Cathie Wood. She's been absolutely on fire on the legacy financial media. There's a clip of her on CNBC talking about the global currency devaluations happening worldwide. And what's really interesting about Bitcoin is that it shines like a light of truth on that. It shines a light of truth on, the failure of fiat currencies. To put it bluntly, like, It's just these currencies are failing. And the reason that they're failing is that governments can't help themselves but to print, which, Satoshi knew this. This is part of the reason that Bitcoin was invented. So this is what we're all here for. So anyways, it's going to be a great episode. Tomorrow, I'm going to be streaming from the beach, from the resort of where the halving party is going to be hosted. I don't know where we're going to be streaming from exactly, but it's going to be a great show. Today's show is going to be a great show. Super, super excited. And we also have a very special guest. First, my co-host today, who's going to be filling in for Opti, who is currently on the plane on the way to El Salvador. Of course, my beautiful wife, Sophie, who just put down our beautiful baby. Sophie, thank you. Thank you so much for filling in for Opti today.
You're very welcome. I'm super excited to be here. There's another little special person who's here who's not exactly ready to make her internet debut, hopefully until she's like 15. But yeah, I'm super excited to be here.
15? No. 15. We got to move that. We got to move that number up to like at least 18. At least 18. Anyways,
I'm just trying to be realistic, okay?
Anyways, I do also want to introduce our guest for today, Dr. Albert. Dr. Albert is an ophthalmologist. Did I say that right? An
optometrist.
Optometrist.
Yeah,
and
I was an optometrist.
He was an optometrist. He's a hardcore Bitcoiner. He is famous for making these Bitcoin pills. Could you show it, Dr. Albert? We're gonna be.
Well, my wife makes them.
His wife makes them, and he's going to be selling them at the halving party. And I had a Nico special edition. I didn't bring it with me. Dr. Albert's wife was kind enough to make one for me and Opti, which was absolutely awesome. So we're going to talk about Dr. Albert's. Why did you move to El Salvador? What's been your experience in El Salvador? What's been your experience in Freedom Country? And I'm going to get to see you in the flesh, like literally later today. So that's going to be awesome. Right. Anyways, it's going to be a great show. I'm really excited for the culture segment specifically because I want to hear Dr. Albert make the case as to why he left where he was living and he moved to Freedom Country. And I'm not going to lie, I didn't tweet this, I didn't post this on Twitter, but I posted this on Nostr. I said, I'm not going to lie, guys, I'm loving El Salvador. I might want to move here. And this is breaking news for Sophie because she hasn't heard about this yet. But
I mean, if it's that good, I'm down. It's down.
Awesome. It's really cool. El Salvador is really, really awesome. Highly recommend it. Like, it was surreal just being able. I've been literally just paying for things in Bitcoin. Like, been going around, have my Lightning wallet on my Zeus app, and I'm like literally just paying for things. It's absolutely surreal that it's just treated like a currency. Not everywhere, but in most places. So it's absolutely awesome. Anyways, guys, it's gonna be an epic show. So let's get into it. But before we do that, I do want to give a very, 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 very special shout out to our flagship sponsor. And of course, I'm talking about Bitcoin Well. I have to switch cameras for this because it's the I can't show the volcano and have this at the same time. So there we go. All right, here we go. One more time. All right, Bitcoin Well is the best place to build your automatic self-custody Bitcoin stack. That's right. You can't buy Bitcoin on Bitcoin Well unless you're going to take self-custody, which perfectly aligns with the Simply Bitcoin ethos of the separation of money and state. Guys, check out Bitcoin Well. Help us make self-custody the standard in the US. Check out bitcoinwell.com today. They also have a live contest that is going on. It's called the Bitcoin Jackpot Contest. There's currently 4.1 million Satoshis in the jackpot. The way that you enter is you sign up for Bitcoin Well. You put in your email. Every time you make a Bitcoin purchase, you earn points, and then you could put those towards the jackpot. If you're an existing user, by the way, all you got to do is you go to the rewards section on the bitcoinwell.com website, and you can use your points that you've earned buying Bitcoin on Bitcoin Well towards the jackpot. We've also been giving away Bitcoin merch, like the Foundation Passport, the hardware wallet, a book by Seb Bunny's Seed Plates. So stay tuned. We'll be giving away a lot of stuff from Bitcoin Well. So guys, check out bitcoinwell.com. Help us make self-custody the standard in the US and the United States of America. All right, everybody, let's get to the numbers. We have a lot to talk about.
The Bitcoin numbers.
Is your Bitcoin in cold storage really secure? Is your seed phrase really secure? Stamp Seed's do-it-yourself kit has everything you need to hammer your seed words into commercial-grade titanium plates instead of just writing them on paper. Don't store your generational wealth on paper. Paper is prone to water damage, fire damage. You want to put your generational wealth on one of the strongest metals on planet Earth, titanium. Your words are actually stamped into this metal plate with this hammer and these letter stamps. And once your words are in, they aren't going anywhere. No risk of the plate breaking apart and pieces falling everywhere. Titanium stamped seeds will survive nearly triple the heat produced by a house fire. They're also crush-proof, waterproof, non-corrosive, and time-proof. All things that paper is not, allowing you to hodl your Bitcoin with peace of mind for the long haul. Stamp your seed on Stamp Seed. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we don't have Opti to be going through the chats in real time, so I just have to pull this up because I thought it was absolutely hilarious. UTXO says Opti is stuck in customs. The customs officer is asking, what is the purpose of this trip and how did you earn the money to pay for it? That is absolutely hilarious. Opti, please don't get stuck in customs. We have David watching from X, and he says, watching from the pool at the halving party in El Salvador. David, I will see you in the flesh very, very soon. We got Brian DeMint in the chat. What's up, Brian? How you doing, man? The absolute marketing genius behind the Orange Pill app and an incredible author also. Anyways, at the time of recording, the Bitcoin price is 66,560 sats per dollar, 1,502. Block height, 837,568. Halving estimate, blocks to halving, 2,432. Halving estimate, April 19th. Oh, it's not on April 20th anymore. It's not on 420 anymore. That's whack. Miners, you got to slow the F down. Okay. It's on April 19, 2024. Total Lightning Network capacity, 4,404 Bitcoin. Capacity value, $293 million US dollars. Realized monetary inflation, 1.73%. The market capitalization is 1.31 trillion US dollars. Bitcoin versus gold market cap is 9.47%. I want to give a shout out to Sophie for multitasking and feeding our baby girl at the same time as doing the show, which is
I'm struggling. She's not happy right now.
Very Bitcoin-esque. I'm not gonna lie, extremely Bitcoin-esque. Okay, so I do want to show you guys this video by Cathie Wood. Once again, she's just making the rounds on the legacy media. And here she is talking about there are currency devaluations around the world that people are not talking about. The Nigerian naira is down 60% and the Egyptian currency is devalued 40%. Quote, Bitcoin is a hedge against a loss of purchasing power. We'll get into more of that in a second. But the point that I wanted to kind of bring up a little bit is the fact that these ideas, and I know that you guys always make fun of me about talking about the Overton window, but guys, memetics are important. Like, this is information narrative trench warfare. We have to literally win over the hearts and minds of individuals. So these types of interviews that are happening on legacy media, whether it's Natalie Burnell, Cathie Wood, Michael Saylor, Anthony Pompliano, they make a big difference because the people that are listening to that type of content aren't Bitcoiners. Like, we have to remember that Bitcoiners are in an echo chamber. Like, we're already awakened. We're already based. We're already in El Salvador, right? We already know what the F is going on. But most people are still asleep. Most people are still in the fiat matrix. So it's our job as Bitcoiners to really wake people up. And in the process of waking them up, I think a lot of the political divisions that people are feeling right now because of the economic woes that are caused by currency theft or purchasing power theft by inflation, I think a lot of that would like literally go away, or not all of it, but I think a lot of people's, issues, a lot of people's hurt, a lot of people's economic woes would disappear if you fix the money, right? So it's incredibly important when these types of interviews happen. Anyways, let's check out what Cathie Wood has to say.
Can you explain, and we were debating it last couple of days about Bitcoin, Joe and Becky, back in New York.
Yeah,
we've
I've
all
heard.
been together. You've seen it. What do you think is happening? I mean, we saw Bitcoin get up to $70-something thousand, drop down to $66,000. I was making the argument that it has been very tied to the NASDAQ. It's been very tied to the markets, and as a result, it is more likely a function of liquidity and sort of speculation than it is a function of what the Federal Reserve is going to do. Even though the Federal Reserve has sort of been moving the markets, what's your analysis of why it's moved the way it has?
Okay, up dramatically.
Right.
You have the ETFs. There's something else going on around the world. There are currency devaluations taking place that people are not talking about. The Nigerian naira is down 50-60% in the last 9 months. Egypt just devalued by 40%. Argentina continuing to devalue. I think this is a flight to safety, believe it or not, taking place. A hedge against devaluation, a hedge against a loss of purchasing power and wealth. That's very important. And we saw this even here last year in the United States. Regional banks imploded.
Right.
Bitcoin went up 40%. Bitcoin does not have counterparty risk. I think, and we're putting out a piece in the next few weeks, which is, this is both, get this, a risk on asset, and so you talk about the NASDAQ.
The risk on.
But it is risk off. I remember we got in at $250 when Greece was threatening to leave the euro, right?
But is that folks that are speculating about currency, or is that folks in Nigeria and in Greece and other places saying, I got to get my money out of this currency and move it themselves? Do you see what I'm saying?
Oh, yes. I think this is an insurance policy against rogue regimes or against just horrible fiscal and monetary policies.
So, I mean, that last part is so powerful, right? This is an insurance policy against rogue regimes and irresponsible fiscal policy by governments. Every single government is guilty of this, even in the US. And one of the things that I would like to mention as well is what you're seeing in the global South is you're seeing the adoption of Tether. You're seeing the adoption of stable coins. People are fleeing their local currency, their local fiat currency, to Tether because they're trying to maintain their purchasing power. But for the first time, we actually reported it on an episode last week, where it was an article in Forbes by our buddy Javier Bastardo. And he literally said that people were actually buying Bitcoin instead of buying Tether. So I think it's just a matter of time before people start to realize that, yes, the dollar is the best of the fiat currencies, right? In terms of quote unquote stability, but there's a superior currency, which is Bitcoin. I think it's just a matter of time. And I think it's an educational issue before people actually, it's an educational problem before people actually wake up to that reality. So I think what she said is so incredibly powerful. And look, if you actually like make sense of what she's saying, right? If all of a sudden you have a way to protect your purchasing power, that provides hope, right? That provides the ability to save for the future. And again, don't trust, verify. We always go to this website called Priced in Bitcoin 21, and it literally just lays it out, right? How if you've been saving in Bitcoin, generally things get cheaper progressively over time, specifically the longer you hold, right? So the US dollar is 92% cheaper, oil is 92% cheaper, gold is 91% cheaper, S&P 500 is 86% cheaper. The United States medium new house is 86% cheaper if you've been living on a Bitcoin standard. Life gets cheaper. The American dream is not dead. In fact, the American dream has been exported worldwide. Anybody in the world could live the American dream. The American dream is if you work hard enough and you put your head down and you believe, you have the ability to live a great life, be able to afford a home. And now you can do that with Bitcoin. If you earn in Bitcoin, mine Bitcoin, and of course take that Bitcoin into self-custody, you can achieve that dream. You can achieve a better future for your family, which was impossible for a lot of people because of fiat currencies, right? So I think Cathie Wood once again breaking the Bitcoin echo chamber, moving the Overton window. I know you guys are going to hate me for that, but I'm going to keep hammering that concept into your guys' head, moving the Overton window and getting to the people, you know, the boomers really that are watching that type of television, and getting them to understand, like, look, a currency can exist that isn't controlled by the government. And not only can it exist by it not being controlled by a government, but it is actually even a superior currency to a currency that is controlled and managed by the government, right? So this is really a really big deal. We're making tremendous amount of progress, and shout out to Cathie Wood, Natalie Burnell, Anthony Pompliano that continue to hammer that message home on legacy media. And remember, now there's a vehicle. There wasn't one before, where a lot of these boomers that don't feel comfortable with self-custody, perhaps they don't feel comfortable with some of the on-ramps, they can just get exposure through the captured Bitcoin, aka the Bitcoin ETFs, right? Which I think is a step in the right direction, at least. Anyways, I want to get Dr. Albert's take on this, and then we'll pass it on to my wife, Sophia.
Yeah, you said it. You said it just the way it is. The Overton window is not only shifting; it's breaking. You know, we hear things that we never thought we would hear in such a short period of time. Since I've started studying Bitcoin, it's been only 3 years, and the kinds of things that we're hearing on CNBC and mainstream media has totally, well, not totally, but noticeably shifted. And 3 years is not a long time when we're talking about an entire monetary system that has been the scam that has been hidden from us with propaganda for decades, hundreds of years. So it's about to break.
100%. The floodgates are about to break. Oh, Sophie, we caught you live.
The poor thing has not stopped since we went on air.
Did you miss the video? Have you been? It seems like you have your hands busy.
No, I didn't actually. And,
what's your take on it?
Well, it's really funny because yesterday I was talking to my grandmother, and she got upset at me because she said, "Why haven't you told me about how to buy Bitcoin? You told me you were going to tell me how to buy Bitcoin and you haven't done it, because I have my money in this account and it only gives me 1% a year." And so when I told her, you know, of course, like I'll help you do it, it just made me realize that this thing is catching on. Even my grandmother is starting to want to buy Bitcoin, and people are realizing that it is a hedge, and it is like the old system is just not working. So yeah, what Cathie Wood said is absolutely true, and I think some boomers do love Bitcoin, and if they're catching on, then I think that gives me a lot of hope for future generations.
100%, yeah, and I think it's just a matter of keep messaging these. That we got to keep hammering, these messages home. Right, a money can exist without inflation. Money can exist without the necessity of government managing it, or better said, mismanaging it, because that's all they do. And I think these messages are really, really important to kind of echo. And once again, just break that Bitcoin echo chamber, get that message out there. All right, everybody, let's get to the news. We have a lot to talk about today. The binariness of Bitcoin. It either goes to 0 or 1 million. We have some tweets by some influential people, and of course some videos by Michael Saylor. And also in other news, it looks like the U.S. government is on the verge of selling some of that Silk Road Bitcoin that was seized. So stay tuned. We have a lot more to go. Let's check it out. Here we go.
The Daily News.
I want to give a shout out to our sponsor, Foundation Devices. It's self-custody done right. They built a premium grade hardware wallet called Passport right here in the US. It's fully open source and verifiable. It's the most intuitive Bitcoin wallet designed with a UX reminiscent of a simple feature phone. So you will know how to navigate it and use it the moment you pick it up. Get your Bitcoin off exchanges and into your own hands in just a few minutes. Experience the peace of mind that comes with taking ownership of your own keys. After a massive sellout during Bitcoin Miami 2023, the Passport is back in stock at foundationdevices.com. Bitcoin only, open source verifiable, completely air-gapped security model, gorgeous design craft, premium grade materials. If you're thinking about getting your Bitcoin off exchanges, this is the one for you. Check out the Passport link in the show notes below to learn more. All right, ladies and gentlemen, incredibly easy for you guys. You could scan the QR code on your screen. It'll take you directly to the Foundation Devices website where you can get yourself a Passport hardware wallet. Remember, guys, not your keys, not your cheese. All right, quick ETF update. It seems like they're slowing down, honestly, on the purchases, but BlackRock is still up nonetheless. Last time, yesterday, I believe it was at 253,000 Bitcoin. Now it's at 256,000 Bitcoin. Fidelity seems to have had a little bit of an uptake as well. Yesterday, they were at 143,000 Bitcoin. Currently, they're sitting at 146,000 Bitcoins. And it seems like the institutional inflows seem to be slowing down a little bit, but they're still going up, which is good news. And of course, the grayscale, people are just trying to get rid of that as fast as humanly possible. So quick ETF update. Also, in other news, this is a tweet by our friends over at Bitcoin Mag. Shout out to Mike Germano. Got to spend some time with him yesterday, president at Bitcoin Inc., BTC Inc. So anyways, goes on to say, US Bitcoin ETFs now hold over 4% of Bitcoin's total supply. And if you add that with Michael Saylor's 1%, so the ETFs and Michael Saylor's MicroStrategy already own 5% of Bitcoin's total supply. Guys, there's not enough to go around. The stat that I always throw out there, because it's the one that makes sense to me the most, is that there's 60 million millionaires all around the world, but there's only 21 million Bitcoin, right? So even if every single millionaire wanted to buy just one, they physically could not, right? So, this is the thing. This is absolute scarcity. This is why Bitcoin's the best performing asset of the last 10 years. So anyways, so what I want to talk about today is specifically the whole $1 million, it keeps being thrown around. I think we did an episode a couple days ago. Again, this $1 million number. And I think a lot of people are seeing it. I think a lot of people are seeing the writing on the wall. Here's Martin Shkreli. He is kind of famous for the whole, he was the whole pharma bro. He spent some time in jail. But basically he was, this very successful businessman. Then, he got charged with all these crimes. He spent a couple years in jail. Anyways, he's a very public figure. Some people call him divisive figure. But anyways, very interesting in terms of what he had to say here in this tweet. He says, I think there's a 75% chance of Bitcoin being $1 million by the end of by year end. I can't talk about the thesis, but that's it. My prediction. Very similar. You're hearing something very similar from Samson Mao as well. So we keep hearing this $1 million number. Maybe people are feeling euphoric because of the Bitcoin bull market. Some of the comments are interesting. Here is Duality. He's responding to Martin's tweet, and it says, if Bitcoin hit $1 million by end of year, then that would mean we'd reach a systemic collapse of fiat confidence and likely the worst recession/depression anyone alive has experienced. Retail FOMO alone can't drive a top like that over the short of duration. Now, I also want to mention, and I know it's a little bit different because Bitcoin's market cap is so much bigger, but in 2017, we went from $1,000 to $20,000. That's about a 20x. Okay. So obviously, it's law of big numbers. It's a lot harder for Bitcoin to 20x at 66,000, but just even a 10x would put Bitcoin at 660,000, which is pretty close to 1 million. So again, from a historical standpoint, I know it sounds crazy, but if I would have told you back in 2017, in January of 2017, that Bitcoin was going to be at 20K in December of 2017, you would have laughed me out of the room. And again, all the stars are aligning. That's why I showed you guys this tweet by Bitcoin Magazine. US Bitcoin ETFs now hold over 4% of Bitcoin's total supply. MicroStrategy holds another 1%. All the big tech companies haven't even started getting their feet wet. They haven't even started getting exposure to Bitcoin, except for Tesla. They're holding Bitcoin, but Google hasn't started buying. Apple hasn't started buying, right? So I mean, like, look, like all you need is one of these companies to announce that they're following MicroStrategy's strategy, and you know, all the dam just breaks, right? Anyway, so here is a video of Michael Saylor talking about the whole binary aspect of Bitcoin. I truly believe in this as well. I actually tweeted about this many years before Michael Saylor said this on TV. I don't think he mentions the binary aspect, but for me, it's always it's common sense, right? Bitcoin either continues to go up, or it's going to zero. Like, the reason that I believe that's the case is because of the halving rewards keep getting cut in half, right? What incentive do the miners have, right, to keep mining this, right? So obviously the profitability has to be there. The number has to go up. The halving gets the supply keeps shrinking. The amount of Bitcoin being available keeps shrinking, but demand either stays the same or keeps rising, right? And it's just basic supply and demand. The price goes up. Anyways, here's Michael Saylor on CNBC once again, shifting the Overton window. I know a lot of you guys are going to hate me for saying that, but let's check it out.
2%, and I think that's really driving the trend. I've said before, if Bitcoin's not going to zero, it's going to 1 million. The real question is it legitimate asset? If it's a legitimate institutional asset, everybody is underallocated to it.
So
2%.
So I mean,
I
look,
think
it speaks for itself, right? You know, it's either going to zero or it's going to 1 million. And he said something really interesting, which is this a legitimate institutional asset? I mean, you tell me. You literally have the CEO of the largest asset manager in the world, Larry Fink, going on the legacy media, and he's literally telling everybody that, you know, he's literally talking the Bitcoin ethos. He's literally talking that to his entire audience. About how, you know, the Bitcoin ETF is the most successful ETF in the history of ETFs, right? There's 3,100 ETFs in the US. There's 2 Bitcoin ETFs that are already in the top 5. So you tell me, do you think it's already, a legitimate institutional asset? I think that's already the case. I think it's incredibly obvious. It's really not rocket science. In other news, I do want to talk about this as well, and then I'll get our panelists' thoughts. So this is a tweet by Bitcoin Archive. U.S. government just moved 30,000 Bitcoin from the Silk Road hack. It's currently worth $2 billion. And you know where they moved it to? They moved it to Coinbase. Here is a Bitcoin Magazine article. It gives a little bit more detail. Goes on to say, today, the U.S. government sent a transaction that appears to indicate it may be on the verge of liquidating the remaining Bitcoin it confiscated from the online marketplace of Silk Road. According to on-chain data, a 0.001 Bitcoin test transaction, part of a larger stash of approximately 30,174 Bitcoin worth $2 billion, linked to the infamous Silk Road marketplace, was moved by the U.S. government. Coinbase, the largest cryptocurrency exchange in the United States, received the transaction from these Silk Road related funds. Arkham Intelligence first identified the origins of where the Bitcoin was coming from and the coin's destination of Coinbase. It appears the purpose of this transaction is to sell the coins, as it has previously done so in the past. Last March, the U.S. government sold off 10,000 Bitcoin related to Silk Road, selling just over 9,861 Bitcoin worth $216 million. Okay, a couple things here. Thing number one. That was a horrible trade. Last March, they got absolutely wrecked. They could have waited a little bit. Second thing, why are they selling something that is absolutely scarce for dollars of which they can just create out of thin air? Just
loyalty.
I mean, just like that in my mind makes absolutely no sense, right? Like are they just taking like a are they just taking like an ideological? Of course they are. They're taking an ideological stance and they're saying like, oh, like we can't have this. And one last observation, then I'm going to pass it on to the panelist. The fee for moving $1.9 billion was $1.48. Name me something else that could do that. Nothing. It doesn't exist. It's going up forever, Laura. Anyways, I want to get Albert's thoughts on this, and then we'll pass it on to my beautiful wife, Sophia. Albert, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, so just to add to what you just said about the fee, it also got settled, final settlement, probably 6 confirmations, 1 hour. What else can do that? If it was gold, it would probably take 2-3 weeks and however many millions of dollars to move that, with all the security guards and the freight and the energy and gas required, and you don't even know you're getting real gold. So that's
100,
that.
100%.
Yeah, I have. It makes no sense for them, like you said, to sell something for something that they themselves can just create at will. I guess they're as stupid as we think they are. There's no other explanation than stupidity. They don't understand Bitcoin. So
No, they don't understand Bitcoin. And if they did understand Bitcoin, then they wouldn't sell it. And then I'll pass it back to you, Albert. Like the whole aspect of the Martin Shkreli, price prediction of $1 million by end of the year, very similar to like kind of Samson Mao as well. And then also the binary aspect of Bitcoin. Do you agree with me that Bitcoin is binary? It either goes to zero or it keeps going up forever. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, definitely think it's binary. It's either going to infinity against the US dollar, which, by the way, it doesn't matter. Who cares if it goes to $1 billion US dollars? It's this. The US dollar to the Zimbabwe dollar is like Bitcoin to the US dollar. So why do we care if Zimbabwe dollars go to infinity? I mean, we're not going to go and start stacking Zimbabwe dollars, are we? No, of course not. So same thing for the US dollar. It's going to go to 1 million, 10 million, 100 million, but who cares? The only time that it actually matters is if you need to buy something in the short term. So if you have some Bitcoin and it goes to $1 million and you cash out and you buy a house in 6 months from now, then great, yeah, you did well. But other than that, it makes no sense to think of Bitcoin in terms of the US dollar. That's my thought on that.
Yeah, 100% agree with you. Sophie, what are your thoughts on this? Sophie's been a trooper, and the reason that she's been a trooper is because, what tends to happen with Bitcoin wives is, they support their husbands, but for the first couple of years, they think, their husbands are absolutely batshit crazy. And then the number go up does what number go up does. And then all of a sudden they're like 21 million and the fucking Fed. And this Bitcoin thing was absolutely awesome. My husband's a genius, right? But it's always like the steps. The first 1 or 2 years, 3 years, it's like you're absolutely batshit crazy. Your parents-in-law are like, this kid is fucking crazy. And then all of a sudden, number go up does what number go up does, right? So, Sophie, back to you. Do you agree with the binary aspect of Bitcoin, that $1 million prediction? I know it's very, very aggressive, but I want to get your thoughts.
It's really not that aggressive, like you said, because it is an absolutely scarce resource. But more than that, I think that the reason people are seeing the writing on the wall as to why Bitcoin will shoot up to that quantity and beyond, because it's going up forever, Laura, as the great Michael Saylor has said again and again and again, is because there is like this ominous writing on the wall. I think that there are so many weird, like terrible things that are happening around the world. The devaluation of the dollar, war in Ukraine, war in Gaza. I think that there are so many tumultuous things happening. There's an election happening at the end of the year, that it's not crazy to think that some terrible situation is going to happen where people are not going to come to Bitcoin because necessarily of money go up, which would be great for all of us, right? That would be a happy ending, but it is going to come because it's going to go to that height because of something terrible happening. I think it's going to come out of necessity. And once it comes out of necessity, that number is just going to keep going up forever and ever. And those who thought we were crazy, who thought that we were just, crazy people online talking about conspiracy theories and, things that could never happen. Once those things do happen, then, we're going to be the ones who are prepared. And that's, I think, why it'll go up. And I've said that time and time again. It's going to unfortunately take something pretty awful to orange pill the masses, because Bitcoin is not necessarily the most convenient technology to learn. It is going to save us all, but a lot of people don't want to see that because they don't want to be inconvenienced, and they don't want to take the time to learn about how to change their monetary system, because again, it's difficult, and it takes opening your eyes to the fact that you've been duped by the system for most of your life in order to really truly be orange pilled and make that change. So I am scared of what's to come. As much as I want Bitcoin to hit $1 million, I also think that that's a sign of something more ominous to come. So we've all got to be praying and watching each other's backs.
Yeah, I mean, that's a really good take on that aspect. But I mean, yeah, like it kind of reminds me of what Cathie Wood was saying in that clip earlier on in the show, right? That Bitcoin functions as this type of insurance, right? For kind of like irresponsible, government spending and all that stuff. So it completely plays into that narrative 100%. And also, Sophie, I wanted to get your take on the U.S. government selling, not only doing Sophie. So Sophie, I'll give you a little bit of insider knowledge, but Sophie gives me, crap all the time for, not buying at the right time. Like, we're like, should we DCA lump sum? Like, no idea. Like, Sophie's like, we should do this. I should do this. Like, so we like try to like DCA. Sometimes we can't help ourselves and we just lump sum. But talk about bad trades. You had Cathie Wood, you had the US government selling 10,000 Bitcoin in March of last year. I mean, they got absolutely wrecked. They would have gotten billions of dollars more for that Bitcoin. And then that's not even the crazy part, Sophie. The crazy part to me is they're selling something that is absolutely scarce. You can't create more of it unless you're going to invest in the mining infrastructure. And then they're selling it for something that they can literally just create out of thin air, which is absolutely insane. And I think it's a testament to the dysfunction of government. What are your thoughts on that?
I mean, it's like I said to you earlier, loyalty, right, to their own corrupt system. And also, why would they enable the system that is going to be the cause of their downfall? You know what I'm saying? Like, it was a terrible trade, but I think they were willing to take the L for the sake of appearing as the stronghold. Because remember, fiat is not backed by anything. It's backed by an idea. And the idea is that the United States is solid. We are not trillions and trillions of dollars in debt. We are productive. We don't have a health crisis on our shoulders, both mentally and physically. So the appearances are very important for the sake of maintaining fiat. Fiat is actually all about appearances. Even if you look at it culturally, somebody will, buy a car, for example, that is completely out of their means just so that they can keep up appearances of, having importance in society. This is kind of the same thing. I think that them selling Bitcoin at that price is to keep up the appearance that that Bitcoin is never going to catch on. It's just this like new technology, internet magic money thing that the real money is the dollar. The real money is like, this is what we need to like express to the public. And so, they're willing to take the L to keep up appearances. But at the end of the day, you can't stop Bitcoin, and they're gonna really wish that they hadn't traded that in. If they hadn't, they would have more money to keep funding wars overseas right now.
Amen. Amen. Wow, that was such a great take. I completely agree. It's to keep up appearances 100%. This is the strong dollar, this magic internet money, but I think they can only keep that up for so long. I think market forces are going to do what market forces do best. I think, once countries like El Salvador continue to thrive, and then, cities in the United States continue to deteriorate, I think people are going to start asking more and more questions. And I think this is really why you see the rise of populism in really the last, half decade or so. Anyways, guys, it's gonna be a great show. I'm so excited because we're gonna talk to Dr. Albert. Dr. Albert did a bold move. He bit the bullet. He moved to Freedom Country. He moved to El Salvador. And I'm really, really interested to hear what his thought process was behind it. I know he announced it before he did it, but now he did it. Now he's there. The proof is in the work. So we're going to dive into that during the culture segment. But before we get to that, I do want to give a shout out to our sponsor, the Orange Pill app. Guys, I highly recommend this app. Stack friends who stack sats. Joined the 9,773 Bitcoiners that are currently on the app. You can scan the QR code on your screen right now, or you could check the link in the video description, and it will take you to the app store of your choice where you can download the app. The Orange Pill app has this awesome filtration system where literally you will only interact with Bitcoiners who are on the Orange Pill app. You won't find Web3, you won't find shitcoiners, you'll only find Bitcoiners. And what it does also is that it shows you the Bitcoiners that are around your area. And what I've tended to notice is, like, you're on a different operating system than no coiners. They don't really understand you anymore. You know who understands you? Bitcoiners. And Orange Pill app, it allows you to connect with other like-minded individuals. Not to mention the fact that Bitcoiners are going to be the most powerful and influential people in the next decade. So it'd probably maybe be a good idea to stack friends who stack sats. So go check out the Orange Pill app today. It's also the #1 resource for creating Bitcoin only events. You can, again, scan the QR code or check the link in the video description. And I'm also extremely active, so I really appreciate all the messages that you're sending me on the Orange Pill app. I take the time to go through each and every single one of them and reply. If you guys want to reach me directly, it's much better. Hit me up on Orange Pill app. Don't hit me up on Twitter. I get flooded by if you send me one Bitcoin, I'll send you two. So you can DM me on Orange Pill app, and also join the Simply Bitcoin group on the Orange Pill app. All right, everybody, let's get to the culture and talk to Dr. Albert.
The Daily Culture.
All right, I also want to give a shout out to our other sponsor, Kaboom Racks. They're the most trusted place to buy, sell, and host mining equipment. Check out their racks today. You can do that by scanning the QR code or checking the link in the video description. That will take you directly to their Telegram marketplace, or you can connect with a member of their sales team. They make purchasing their products easy and transparent. What about selling mining equipment? Kaboom Racks has your back. Access their vast network of domestic and international customers when you sell your mining equipment with Kaboom Racks. This is where I personally buy my Bitcoin mining ASICs. What are you waiting for? Start your Bitcoin mining journey today. Check out Kaboom Racks. Scan the QR code or check the link in the video description. All right, no more delay. I do want to have this conversation with Dr. Albert. Dr. Albert, last time you came on Simply Bitcoin, you were talking about moving to El Salvador. You finally did it. You finally pulled the trigger. What made you do that? Were you always set on it? Were you always convinced that you were going to do it? Or what was the catalyst? What made you finally get on a plane, sell your stuff in fiat country, and move to freedom country?
Yeah, I was on your show back in June. I actually had bought the halving party tickets in May of last year, thinking that we would come here to check out El Salvador, and that the halving party would be our first visit. and we would basically be tourists and check out the country to see if it was a place that we might want to move to. Um, yeah, so that was May last year. And then by the time I was on your show, our house was we were cleaning out our house and getting ready to sell it because we realized that, well, number one, it's our house is the biggest shitcoin of them all. Um, and we can see that the housing, the real estate market is going to tank. Well, it's going to either tank or it's going to hyperinflate when the dollar hyperinflates. When people look to store value in hard assets such as houses and stocks, they might go up, but they're not going to go up nearly as much as the dollar will go down. So, so we were in the process of selling the house, or sorry, cleaning out the house when I was on your show last, and then a few weeks later we put it for sale, and as the months rolled by, we just see more and more of what I had learned when I was studying Bitcoin and history in other countries when a monetary system is collapsing. And if you've ever read the book The Mandibles,
So
which I
good,
read,
so good, such a good book. Yes, highly
yeah,
recommend.
I mean it's playing out like The Mandibles, which was written, I believe, in 2017. So it's not like the book was written a year or two ago. It was written quite a while ago, and everything it predicts is correct. And it's not a Bitcoin book. I believe it only mentions the word Bitcoin once. But now today, we're at the stage of squatters. I
Yep.
mean, I don't know if you've seen that on Twitter. All these houses, squatters are taking over people's houses, and that was talked about in the Mandibles. And when I was reading the book, I just from knowing, just from seeing what's happened in other countries in the past, I knew it was going to happen, and now it's happening. So things like that. I mean, other things would be, I mean, you just look at society in general. People are becoming homeless, drug addicted, living in tents all over. It used to be maybe a couple of big cities in the US, but now it's Toronto, smaller cities around Toronto, Vancouver, uh, LA, Philadelphia, Baltimore, Chicago, San Francisco, New York. And I don't, it's crystal clear to me. I may be wrong on the exact timeline, but we're not waiting till till it completely collapses on us and we're in danger before we move. And once people realize what's happening, because everybody's still asleep now. Well, not everybody, but the majority of people are still asleep, and they don't want to know the truth. They'd rather watch Netflix and shop on Amazon rather than try to open their eyes. And they move their goalposts. I try to orange pill my friends. I try to tell them what's happening, and it's, I don't know, the typical response is, oh, that's in other countries, and then I show them, oh, well, now it's in Canada. Oh yeah, well, that's not in Toronto. Then I show them stuff in Toronto, and then it still doesn't make them wake up because there's a lot of cognitive dissonance. In order for them to accept the truth, they have to accept that they've been fooled their entire lives, and especially the people who are successful, they would have to admit that they are only successful through a not faulty, what's the word I'm looking for, a scammy system. They played the scam system. It wasn't necessarily their hard work and intelligence that got them where they are. they played the game right, which is borrow fiat dollars and put it into hard assets, while us savers are getting poorer and poorer. So, uh,
100%.
yeah. So I just I just saw the progression of the decay of society happening on almost a month to month basis, and I just wanted to, if I'm wrong, if somehow things magically turn around in Canada, I just move back. I don't lose anything. Whereas if I'm right and people stay in a place that traps them in CBDC, they can't get out. So that is probably the biggest reason why we said, you know what, we were just going to come and visit during the halving party till to now we've moved here as of 6 7 weeks ago, mid-February, and we're happy we did it. We did a lot of research, uh, mostly through Telegram, talking to people who actually came here from all over the world, but especially Canada. Um, so we knew what to expect. It's not all paradise. We know there's poverty here, but it's going to get better, or at least the chance of it getting better. We're on the up, whereas the rest of the world, most of the rest of the world, are on the way down.
A hundred
So
percent, a hundred
yeah.
percent, and I see that. This is my first time, in El Salvador, and I see that come up. Like I said, Sophie and I, specifically Sophie, she, like, we lived in different parts in Latin America, and it's a much different vibe in El Salvador. It's a lot more hopeful, and a lot more energy, and it's on the come up rather than the come down. Now, I wanted to ask you, like, if anyone wanted to follow in your footsteps, Dr. Albert, what was the process? So you purchased a home. How long did it take to get a residency and all that stuff? Was it complicated? Yeah.
Yeah, at the beginning, it's very, I guess, sort of intimidating. But as you delve into it, there's so many people who've made the move, and they're very happy to share with you the links and resources and answer questions on Telegram or WhatsApp or wherever. So, okay, we're still waiting on our residency. We applied about a month ago. Um, so typically they say it takes about 45 days from date of application. So hopefully we'll get it in the next two weeks or so. We actually and also we're living now, we're renting, so we just want to remain mobile. No matter how great the country appears, we're not ready to you know put our forever home uh, down just yet. So we're renting. So you can see behind me, it's like a beautiful view of the pool, palm trees, and we're paying less than half of what we were paying in Canada before we moved. So yeah, there's a Telegram group called Expats, Bitcoiner Expats, and there's many categories. It's called Bitcoiners in El Salvador, and there are subcategories in there that answers pretty much any question anybody might have. There's a category called residency and relocation, restaurants, if you have questions about that, sports, if you have questions about that, healthcare, transportation, pets, permaculture, everything. So you go on there. If you have any questions, somebody will always direct you to the right place or give you the proper advice themselves. So, and then there's various websites, that actually help you, like especially if you don't speak Spanish, which we don't, although we've been taking lessons, classes in the last week and a half or so. So there's services that help people relocate here. So lawyers, immigration specialists who ask, I mean, it's different for everybody. There's about 15, 16 different types of residencies that you can get, depending on whether you're retired or a digital nomad or an entrepreneur or a student. So you'd have to fill them in on your situation, and they will be able to help you.
Very cool. Very cool. All right, Dr. Albert, I do want to pivot the conversation. I want to highlight what you are working on. This is the Mi Primer Bitcoin merch store. This is something that you wanted me to show on the show. So kind of walk us through what's on here. And I know what this is. This is something that your wife makes. I got a custom Nico one, which I'm so happy about. I didn't bring it with me. But, this thing is awesome. It's called the Orange Pills Car Pendant Bag Charm. It is so freaking cool. I can't emphasize that enough. So why don't you walk us through this website, Dr. Albert?
Sure. It's not my website. It's Mi Primer Bitcoin's BTC Pay server. So about a week ago, we went to a Bitcoin meetup here in El Salvador, and we were selling these little pills for $10, and people seemed to really like them. And we got home, and my wife and I talked about it, and we decided that we didn't really want any of the profits from it. So the next day, I got in touch with Emilio from Mi Primer Bitcoin and told him that we'd like to keep producing these, and every cent of that $10 will go directly to Mi Primer Bitcoin. So we will bring them to meetups. We will supply them to a couple of stores. And when somebody purchases it, they will pull up, well, not the buyer, but the owner of the store will pull up this BTC Pay server, and if you click on buy the pendant, it'll show a dynamic lightning QR, and you pay for it, and the money goes directly to Mi Primer Bitcoin. So you know that I'm not taking one penny out of that $10, and hopefully that will encourage more people to just purchase, because it's really a donation. We're really asking for a $10 donation for each of these little pills that my wife makes. It is proof of work. She crochets them. It takes about 30 minutes or so for this little one. So we only can make so many per day, but we're going to be bringing, I think she's made about 20 of them, and we're going to bring them to the halving party. And hopefully people will buy them and realize it's going to like an amazing cause. Yesterday, I was at the Mi Primer Bitcoin graduation for a local school here, where I don't know how many exactly, but probably between 100, 150 students who took the Mi Primer Bitcoin 10-week course graduated. It was like a normal graduation ceremony. They got their diplomas, went up on stage to get their diploma, and I was one of the verifiers. So I would verify that each student was able to send and receive Bitcoin on Lightning, and answer a couple of questions, as well as restore seed phrase on their hot wallet. So so I think everybody passed. So Mi Primer Bitcoin is really going to help El Salvador, and actually I believe they're in 21 countries. I believe there's 700 Bitcoin teachers now that are signed up with them. So people often ask, or criticize Bitcoin, saying it's not working. I think it's failed. Not everybody, like hardly anybody, accepts Bitcoin. I mean, you can't expect an entire monetary system of the world to change in 1 year, 2 years, 5 years, 10 years, right? It just doesn't make sense. So, from the ground up, with the children learning the difference between one of the questions for verifying the students was what's the difference between centralized and decentralized? Another question was what is inflation? What is the difference between the US dollar and Bitcoin? These are, they should be basic questions, but I mean, I didn't even know the answer to those questions until a few years ago, and I'm in my 50s. So I think it's going to a great cause. And yeah. Oh, one other thing. Yesterday at that graduation, BTC Sessions, Ben was there, and so I chatted him up, and I sold him one of these. So he is the first person to donate to me Premier Bitcoin through these little orange pills. So, and I'd
Beautiful.
like for you to be the second person, if we could do that live on air to show people.
100%. We can do that live on air. Let's do that right now. Is this main
All right.
chain or is this lightning? Here's the lightning here. All right, let's do this.
Nico, get two. I want to be the third.
Let me
Okay.
see. I could here. Let's see if we can make it through one first. Here we go. Is this me? There we go. Me Pyramid Bitcoin. And it is sending the transaction right now.
Oh, you got Zeus.
I got Zeus.
Nice.
Boom. All right. Invoice paid. Boom, boom, boom. Just made the second donation to
There you go.
to
And I got a little surprise for you.
I'm all ears. I'm all ears.
Let's see if you guys can guess who this might be.
Oh, it's oh my god, let's get Sophie's reaction.
There you go, Sophie.
I love it! I love it! That is so cute! Oh my god, it has headphones!
Yep.
I'm obsessed. I'm obsessed. That's so cute. Oh my god,
Yeah.
everybody in the chat needs to be buying these right now. This is so adorable. Thank you so much, and thank you
Oh,
to your
thank
wife. Amma says thank you. So
You're
thank
very,
you very much.
welcome. So if you'd like to maybe donate again for this one, because this one
Yes.
later on.
Yeah, we definitely have to.
I will donate again.
All right, I'm muting myself again.
One more time. But wow, this is Albert's won my heart once again, guys. You can check the link to get yourself one in the live chat. I just put the link there. Put the link there twice, so you can go straight there. Anyways,
actually, yeah, you can't buy directly from there. We don't deliver, so it's just for whoever's selling them to pull it up to pay.
Well, it's a donation if you guys want to donate, and yeah. So Albert, thank you so much. Go ahead.
Wait. Yesterday when I ran to BTC Sessions, I said I wanted them to watch the show because we got one for him too.
Oh, there
So
we
I'll
go.
be seeing him. There you go.
There we go.
It kind of looks like you.
It does. It does.
But yeah, that'll be for him.
Oh my God. I love it. I love it. Awesome. All right, guys. Well, thank you so much for tuning in to another episode of Simply Bitcoin Live, the second Simply Bitcoin Live episode, streaming live from San Salvador in El Salvador at the base of a volcano. I want to thank my beautiful wife, Sophie, for co-hosting today, filling in for Opti. Thank you, Sophie. Really, really appreciate it. And of course, I also want to thank our very special guest, Dr. Albert, which tends to win over my heart multiple times. We're going to be meeting in the flesh very, very soon at the halving party. So next time, guys, we'll see you tomorrow for another episode of Simply Bitcoin live from the halving party on the beach in El Salvador. Should be absolutely awesome. I don't know where we're going to be set up, but it should be a lot of fun. Dr. Albert, please hang around in the backstage for a little bit. Anyways, guys, love you all. If you guys enjoyed the show, like, subscribe, and we'll see you tomorrow for a brand new episode. Peace out, everybody.
Because they expect
because
that
they
it's
want
going
to
to become
sell it
more
eventually,
desirable.
Michael. I mean, let's be honest. Most of the people who are, yes, sure, some people pass it on to their children, but like most of the people who are buying assets at some point want to sell the assets at a profit. So let
me say it a different way.
Okay.
People that use fiat currency as a store of value, there's a name for them. We call them poor. Okay.
Episode was brought to you by BitcoinWell.com, a Bitcoin-only platform on a mission to enable financial independence.